Could the end be near for one of the GOP presidential candidates?
We'll tell you whose campaign is starting to crack next in the newsroom.
There's been a couple of major shakeups at CNN, including lost jobs and the ending of a high-profile marriage. Stay tuned for Media Matters.
In sports, the Los Angeles Dodgers have been sold. I'll tell you who bought them and the hefty price they paid coming up.
I'm serving up 24-hour cupcakes, glow-in-the-dark sushi, and the sexiest TV chef ever in The Naked Foodie. Hello, everyone. I'm Peyton Priestley.
And I'm Rochelle Wild. Thanks for making your way to Naked News.
We're starting off on the U.S. campaign trail where it could be the beginning of the end for one GOP candidate.
You're inside the Naked Newsroom.
In a sign that his presidential campaign may be losing steam, Newt Gingrich has replaced his campaign manager and laid off a third of his staff. However, he insists he has no plans to drop out of the race. It's simply a refocusing effort. A spokesperson says they want to get the campaign convention ready.
This comes as a new CNN ORC international poll says that most Republicans, around 6 in 10, want him and Ron Paul to quit the race. But the news is better for Rick Santorum. Around the same number of Republicans want him to keep up the fight. Republican frontrunner Mitt Romney is making friends in all the right places with some harsh words for Russian President Dmitry Medvedev. He called Russia America's #1 geopolitical foe after President Obama's open mic remarks to the Russian president earlier this week. Obama told Medvedev that he'd have more flexibility in dealing with Russia in regards to a missile defense program after the election.
Romney didn't waste any time responding, saying it was a sign that Obama will cave into Russia. He went on to say Russia is not a friendly character on the world stage. Medvedev fired back, saying Romney should use his head. He went on to say that it's 2012, not the mid-70s, and that Romney's comments smelled like Hollywood.
A Reuters Ipsos online poll says that the majority of Americans are unhappy with the way President Obama is handling rising gas prices. 68% of respondents say they disapproved with Obama's response, a number that crosses party lines, which could spell bad news in an election year. However, they don't necessarily blame him for the rising prices.
The most common reason cited was greedy oil companies, with 36% blaming them. A further 26% say that it's a number of factors, including oil companies, politicians, foreign countries, and environmentalists. Gas prices have jumped 30 cents a gallon in the past month to around $3.90 a gallon. Prices like these make me glad I don't drive.
You're lucky. Sometimes I'm at the pumps and feel like I need to take out a loan.
We'll be right back.
Still ahead in sports, the NBA's leading MVP candidate could be out with an injury. And the NFL announces a Wednesday night season opener. I'll tell you who's to blame for that, plus which teams are involved. Straight ahead.
I'm Victoria Sinclair with the stories behind the headlines. It's time for Media Matters. It's not news when North Korea blocks the media. It is news when South Korea does it. But that's what happened. At one point, the confused journalists were even faced by security guards brandishing batons. The mix-up was later resolved, but not in time for the press corps to cover the meeting. No explanation has been given for the snafu. Dozens of staffers at CNN's documentary units have been pink-slipped. The network says that they're still going to make in-house docs like their popular In America series. But
Is your midweek sports report. Huddle up. One of basketball's greatest legends has won the rights to buy one of baseball's most legendary franchises. That's the most anyone's ever paid for a North American sports team. The Dodgers haven't won a World Series since 1988, but they've got some of the greatest fans in baseball. The Miami Heat lost again on Monday night to Indiana, but that was far from the worst news of the evening. James had the finger taped and finished the game on Monday, but didn't practice on Tuesday. The Heat might want to put the league's leading MVP candidate on the shelf, just to be safe. It's never too early to start talking football. The NFL has announced that the Dallas Cowboys will visit the Super Bowl champion New York Giants to kick off the new season on September 5th. And for the first time ever, the season opener will be played on a Wednesday night. That's because U.S. President Barack Obama is scheduled for a primetime address at the Democratic National Convention. Looks like you win again, Mr. President. What a crushing loss for the U.S. national soccer team. The Americans needed a win over El Salvador to move on in CONCACAF, qualifying for this summer's Olympic Games. And up 3-2 with seconds to play in injury time, they look poised to do just. Speaking of the upcoming Olympic Games, here's a new rule we're not too crazy about. Organizers have announced that women beach volleyball players won't have to wear bikinis.
Thanks, Rachel, and welcome to the newsroom, everyone.
Our next story may seem familiar to you, even though the players and the product are different.
Take an offshore oil rig, add a mysterious leak, and you have a dangerous situation.
Here's the story.
A massive cloud of gas is hanging over an oil rig off the British coast. Workers have been evacuated from a 4-mile exclusion zone surrounding the Elgin Total platform for fears that it may explode at any moment. The scary part is that they don't know the exact source of the leak.
One possible solution is to drill a relief well to divert the gas. But that could... A JetBlue flight en route from New York to Las Vegas had to make an emergency landing in Texas after a disturbing outburst from the captain.
He had to be subdued by passengers, which was no easy feat, as he stood 6'3" and weighed upwards of 250 pounds.
I'm your naked foodie, Ayla Adams, ready to serve up a 5-course feast of the tastiest stories around. Wendy's restaurant chain is celebrating its newly elevated status as the second biggest burger chain in the U.S. For the first time since they opened in 1969, they've dethroned Burger King with $8.5 billion in sales in 2011. BK had $8.4 billion. But it goes without saying that in the burger fiefdom, McDonald's still reigns supreme. Ronald and his friends at the Golden Arches raked in over $34 billion last year, bigger than both other chains combined. Meanwhile, Taco Bell's looking to ring up sales with the introduction of a new gourmet-style menu. It's called the Cantina Bell menu, and it's aimed at giving higher-end Mexican chains like Chipotle a run for their money. And